Hey there guys, so we've got the Final Fantasy V banner this week. We've done some runs with Ferris where she was like the primary DPS, she was a support, etc. We did Bart earlier. Now it's time to use Neovision's Awakened Gilgamesh to see how he does. Now most people are going to be using him as like a support unit, you know, he's a good breaker in perils, support chaining, that kind of stuff. But I'm going to be using him as the primary damage dealer for the Bahamut trial. He's got a special ability where he does 120% bonus damage to gauge broken enemies, kind of like the tag chainer. The tag chainers are only 70%, he's 120% bonus. So even though his personal damage is, you know, lower than like Last Will Reagan and all, because he's got such a big bonus to broken enemies, he's pretty good for the Bahamut trial, and we're going to be using him to get a 15 turn clear. We're actually going to go for a turn 6 clear, which I think he can do. We're going to be using Ferris to support again. She's going to be, you know, supporting with the fields. We're going to be going with an Earth team. So we're using her Golem field this time. And then she's going to cap once in the fight with her physical skills to take advantage of the Earth attacks. And then for the Earth bonuses, we're going to be using Vanille for the imbues and perils, etc. We're going to use Zzat for covering and support chaining. And then Uraisha for filling LB gauge and that kind of stuff. So here is the team we're going to be using. So Uraisha is just geared to you know, help out. She's got barrage and dual wielding daggers, so she can help break the gauge on the kill or in the gauge break turn. Other than that, you know, whatever. Vanille is going to be our breaker and imperil and all that. She's going to imbue Earth. She's dual wielding rods to help break the gauge a little bit. Yeah, because the gauge is a little tricky here, but we're going to be using some units to take care of it. Zzat is going to be covering. He's on Phoenix, so he can re-raise himself. He's also going to be support chaining. He's got an Earth weapon because he's going to die and lose his imbue. Double Zzat Journal to fill LB gauge for the party, and Coerle's Blaster to help chain. That's going to give him Chaos Wave Awaken frames to chain with Vanille to support chain. And then Ferris and the base form, we got some auto buffing. We gave her the Seraph Staff, so her shift form is immune to Confuse because she's not naturally. Shift form, she's going to be Double Sword and Aurora Staff to break the gauge. I mentioned in my previous video, Ferris is really good at breaking the gauge with swords, with the Aurora Staff. So there we go. She's got this set up, and she's going to be capping once on the final kill turn. So she's got a little bit of physical damage here, maxed LB damage, 300 dragon, and no beast killer at all. You know, I couldn't really fit it with all this setup. And then Gilgamesh. Mine is going to be tanking the physical attacks on turn 1. So I geared him in pretty decent physical bulk. He's going to be provoking because of Zzat. Zzat can give a unit provoke. So we've got that, Dragon's Brush and Call of the Wild to fill his LB gauge. So we can LB on turn 1. And this applies a permanent, undispellable 300% every stat buff and a 150 LB damage just permanently. And then in the shift form, he's going to be breaking the gauge. This is important that he's using his own personal Genji Naginata. This gives him a lot of LB damage. Most importantly, it boosts his damage against broken enemies by 60%, and he got 60% more in his kit. That's 120% total. So he's going to be using his LB gauge, his LB skill to cap. It's a 135 or 130 times modifier, which is going to be capping. So there we go, and then he's got some Beast Killer and Dragon Killer. He's got max LB damage, max Dragon Killer, 275B. So he's geared pretty well, and it's really not like a whale build or anything. I think we're only using like 1 STMR, I think, maybe 2. I don't know. Whatever, there we go. And then Flip built me one as well. Same thing, base form, got the autofill, auto buffing, etc. Shift form. Build is pretty similar to mine. I think it's a little bit better than mine, actually. He's got same killers, higher attack. Yeah. So there we go. Let's give it a try. Hey guys. Even though I wrote down my actions per turn, I still used the wrong skill on the wrong turn. And instead of waiting 4 hours for the friend cooldown, I'm just going to start the fight over. Anyway, so here is the fight on turn 1. So, Zzat, as you can see, has filled our LB gauge for the party by a decent amount. Now we're going to use Uraisha on turn 1 to physical mitigate and then put a barrier up. which is going to fill our LB gauge the rest of the way for the Gilgameshes. Now we're going to use his Gilgamesh transform to do his permanent buff, his LB damage buff, etc. We're going to use Zizat to cover and then give provoke to my Gilgamesh. Ferris is going to shift, and we're going to use her just regular sword break skill by just punching. It's going to hit 4 times. And then Vanille is going to Define Destiny to break the boss, and then we're just going to hit the boss for breaking the gauge. Okay. Yeah, on turn 3 I used the wrong skills, and I kind of sabotaged the whole run. This run is calculated very specifically to do everything in a specific way. So here is turn 1. We're going to have Gilgamesh tank with all those buffs, and he's very, very tanky, so this is not a problem. He's good. Zizat gave him provoke. We're fine. Okay, so now we're going to do more stuff. So we're going to go ahead and shift our Gilgameshes now. Let's do this before we do anything else. Alright, we're going to have Zizat re-raise himself because he's going to die to the turn 2 attack. Now we're going to use Gilgamesh. We're dual wielding a sword and a spear. So we're going to triple cast his sword break. The boss is not weak to spears. Otherwise we'd be doing double spear. But he's not weak to spears, so we're just going to do the sword break. And with that, and then Ferris's break, we're going to be breaking a lot of gauge. On this turn, Eurytia is going to be doing Beast Killer to both of our Gilgameshes for the damage. And then Vanille is going to use her LB. Her LB is an 85% break, and it's also a 130 or 35 Earthen Peril. It's a big Earthen Peril in any case. I'm not sure if it's 130 or 135. It might be only 130. Anyway, here goes Zizat. He's going to cover the turn 2 attack, which is the most dangerous attack in the entire fight. Well, other than Terra Flare, I guess, technically. Alright, but we're going to get him back up with Eurytia. So Eurytia is going to raise up Zizat, and now we're going to do a Dragon Killer for the party. Lots of killers. Alright, we're just going to reload the gauge break to keep that gauge working. And then we're going to quad cast with Vanille. We're going to do the Earth, Imbue, and Amplify, and then hit the boss 3 times to help break that gauge. Yeah, Vanille's really, really good for Earth teams. Okay, there we go. So the gauge is within breaking distance with using, what's it called? Barrage from Eurytia. So the boss is charging Mega Flare, not a problem. So now it's time to break the gauge and start dealing damage. But first, we're going to summon Golem with Ferris. That's going to put up the Earth physical field. Like I mentioned in a previous video, Ferris has lots of fields. We're going to use her Earth field for the Golem field. We're going to use Eurytia to barrage and finish off that gauge. And we're going to start capping with Gilgamesh's LB. Now, Gilgamesh's Limit Burst is, it's kind of like Kingdom Hearts Riku or Zenata, or like Crown Prince Noctis. It's one of those LBs that technically chains, but it breaks in the middle. So in order to get a fully powered LB from Gilgamesh, you need to bridge that LB. So we're going to do that with support chaining Chaos Wave Awakened with Vanille, double casting Chaos Wave Awakened, and Corel's Blaster from a dual-wielding Zizat. These are going to bridge the first half and the second half of Gilgamesh's LB, because the second half is that big finisher hit, but it comes after his own LB breaks the chain. So the timing on this is a little tricky. I recommend you practice on the training dummy if to get the timing right. But you want to send the Gilgameshes, and then a moment later you want to send the Chaos Wave Awakened chainers. And this should go to a 49-point chain if we capped it right. We did. So we did 41% on the first LB, and Mega Flare was interrupted. And Gilgamesh's LB is overall very, very cheap. And because his turn 1 buff, or his original LB from the base form, is a permanent buff, if you wanted to fill his LB every turn and cap it every turn, you could literally do that for the entire fight. His buffs never wear off. But we're going to be using Eurytia to fill his LB. Now, Eurytia is going to overfill by a lot. We only need like 10 more crystals, so you could use like Realm with a single cast of Masterpiece Sketch or something to fill his LB. But we're going to use Eurytia. We're going to like overfill it by a lot. It's fine. And we'll top off the team because we aren't using a tank anymore. And there we go. LBs are good to go. We're going to cap on the final turn with Ferris, so we're going to use Blessed Fire, Fire Imperil, and Pirates Ahoy. Now, Ferris may not even be needed because we are actually dealing more damage than I thought we would with the Gilgameshes. So yeah, but we're gonna stick to the original plan. So we're gonna go ahead and again just chain these, and we're going to send the Catholic Awaken chainers. This should be a 49-point chain. Yep. Yeah, so we actually technically don't even need Ferris, because we're doing a lot of damage. But we're gonna stick to the plan. We're gonna go with it. Okay, so let's do it. So we're gonna go ahead and use Eurasia to fill everyone up again, and we're gonna cap with Ferris. I could like. We're gonna skip Ferris. We don't need it. So we're gonna say we did this literally exclusively with Gilgamesh. Ferris was gonna cap as well. We don't need her. We're gonna just Gilgamesh solo DPS this. Got it. 2 Gilgameshes. I think they each had 1 STMR apiece. Maybe 2. I don't remember. How many STMRs were you? This is like a pretty budget team. Oh, I used Red's STMR. We didn't even need that. Noel's STMR maybe was kind of important. Are we overcapped on attack power? Oh, we are. We could have used like just a regular Dragon Killer or something. We didn't even need the attack power. So I overgeared him. Didn't even need all that gear. He could have, and we overkilled by a lot, like a whole lot. Okay, just Gilgamesh and a field effect. Now we could have used other fields. You could have used like fire. I guess the only other physical field currently is fire field from Infernal Fire Rain, and there's no good fire imbuers, is there? Who's a good fire imbuer? I don't know. In any case, there it is. We could have also used like Phasey and used her Amplify and all that. But anyway, there was a Heavenly Flames in 6 turns with only Gilgamesh DPSing. Ferris Garden, we didn't even need Ferris. Okay, so there it is. I will see you guys next time.